All right, everybody, just give us one moment and we will get started. Apologize for being late, but coming all the way from Brooklyn, just leaving the office. So give us one more minute here to let some people get in, and just got to respond to this email. But happy Wednesday, happy CPI day. All right, let's get started. I want to welcome everybody back to Walks in Wall Street. Today is Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. It is 9:36 p.m., and I do apologize for being late. A lot of traveling tonight, or I should say today. I was all the way at Cathedral Parkway, 110th Street, went down to Soho, went to Tribeca, back to the office on 57th Street, all the way to Dumbo, then all the way to Red Hook, and then back in the greatest island in the world, Manhattan. Great day today. Awesome day. Inflation day. Now, let's take a moment to take a step back and do some review. Now, for those of you who joined the live stream last night, we were doing our sort of monthly CPI conclusions or guesses in anticipation for the main release. Now, one of the main things that we've concluded, as we were talking on our discussion last night, we predicted a few things would happen. And it actually just turned out our predictions came true. Doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does. Sometimes we get lucky here on the stream. So one of our main predictions was that inflation, the number was going to tick higher a little bit, but in very specific categories. Number one is energy, right? We predicted that energy costs were going to creep up because of crude oil. We've been watching crude here. I mean, almost every night we give an update on where crude is trading. We're now just under $90 a barrel, so people are starting to see that at the pump. So energy prices were up according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics last month. But what can you guys... I mean, I don't even need to say it. I mean, we were talking about it yesterday. But guess what is finally starting to roll over and come down? If you type !CPI in the chat, it's going to drop the 12-month percentage change for the Consumer Price Index in the selected categories. I want everybody to go ahead and scroll down about a third of the way. I want everybody to unselect everything except shelter costs. Well, guess what? Shelter costs actually came down a little bit, as we've predicted, right? So for August of 2023, shelter came in at 7.3%. Now, still elevated, right? Still, totally unacceptable. But we're heading in the right direction, which I think is good, right? If we go and look at the previous reading for July of 2023, which was the month prior, shelter came in at 7.7%. So every single month now, you're starting to see the trend roll over here. And we've talked about why, right? Usually at the turn of a business cycle, when the Federal Reserve starts to make the transition from quantitative easing, which would be keeping interest rates artificially suppressed, expanding the balance sheet, which essentially means purchasing mortgage-backed securities and U.S. Treasuries, right, providing liquidity. And as they make that transition from QE to QT, which is quantitative tightening, which would be raising interest rates with the Fed funds rate and letting assets roll off the balance sheet, the most liquid assets on the market tend to reprice first. And we've seen that in 2021 with this massive sell-off in equities. More specifically, the very high beta growth stocks. You could think about the Cathie Wood ARK Innovative ETF type stocks, right? Those repriced first, and we've had a significant correction there. But shelter costs have really stayed elevated. And this happens in every cycle, okay? I want to recommend a book to everybody before we get started. Sol Bravo. We can't have any vaping here. Sorry. This is a no vaping stream. I want to recommend both of Ray Dalio's books. Principles by Ray Dalio, and then I believe the second book is Changing New World Order. And essentially in those two books, he does a really good job of outlining business cycles. And I think if you want to be a participant in this economy, not only from a trader's standpoint, right, if you want to manage money, but also if you're running a business, right? Business owners, small business owners, even if you're a CEO of a company, it's very important to understand business cycles and how money works. So I'd recommend those two books for you. And if you go back throughout history, it sort of works in the same way in every cycle, right? Once the Fed starts to tighten, the most liquid assets reprice first, and then the most illiquid assets reprice last. Now, I'm not calling for Armageddon in the real estate market, but you're just starting to see now shelter costs come down. If we go all the way back to March of 2023, and again, if you're following along with us here on the live stream, once again, not to sound like a broken record, please type !CPI in the chat and click the link that the Nightbot drops, because it's going to send you the infographic that we're looking at. We could sort of follow along and analyze the data together. So in March of 2023, shelter costs peaked at about 8.2%, right? That was only in March of 2023. Then in April, they came down to 8.1%. In May, they came down to 8%. June, 7.8%. July, which was last month, 7.7%. And now, the most recent reading for shelter costs in the CPI is 7.3. So you can see this rolling over here. And this is also why I would advise to model this in Excel, right? Pull up an Excel spreadsheet and update these models every single month, because you can see the inflation trends in real time. It's funny because headline CPI, right, the headline number, which is a basket of goods that is inclusive of volatile food and energy, really started to roll over, all the way back in June of 2022. We peaked in the United States. Inflation peaked at 9.1% in the United States, June of 2022, all the way down to today's reading for August of 2023 at 3.7%. The last review we'll do, the lowest inflation reading we've gotten in the United States was June of 2023, coming in at 3%. We have now had July and August, so 2 consecutive months of counter-trend reactions for inflation. July came in at 3.2%, and then now this reading comes in at 3.7%. The million-dollar question here is this just a mere counter-trend move, and over the next 3 to 6 months, is inflation going to continue to drop towards the Federal Reserve's 2% target? Or is this going to be a start of a brand new trend where inflation gets back to 9% in the United States? Now, I have my thoughts. I'm sure many of you have yours. And that is what we are going to be discussing tonight, live from 59th Street, Columbus Circle, in the greatest city on earth, New York City. All right. How was that for an intro? Good? Thumbs up, thumbs down? I'm a little tired tonight. I just want to forewarn everybody. But yeah, welcome to the stream. So I will go ahead and close up the laptop here, and we're going to talk about inflation. And we'll walk around Billionaires Row. But I also, you know what? Since we're reporting, I'll actually show you guys, just for some context here. You see all of New York City's Billionaires Row, which is fantastic here. But right behind us is the Trump International Hotel and Tower, or One Central Park West. Since we're here already, I think we'll make our first stop at 66th Street, Lincoln Center. We'll check things out. It's the end of summer, so maybe they're doing some interesting things for the transition. So allow me one moment. I'll go ahead and close up the laptop, and I'll say hello to everybody in the chat, and we will get started. Hopefully you all had a fantastic Wednesday. All right, I just had literally three spotted lanternflies crawl into my briefcase there. I probably have all these spotted lanternflies all over me, but whatever, not a big deal. Okay, let's scroll to the top and let's get started, guys. Thanks for joining me so late. I appreciate everybody. He's still joining. Oh, man. Hey, Patricia Ivory's here. What is going on? Thank you for being here. Gina Thomas, Shannon, Kevin Wu, Richard Vogel, A-Scan, Justin S, British Gray, Crypto Meme, Jade Grant, Panda Egg Express, Susanna Q4, oh my god, the one and only Razzle Dazzle 786. A converted San Franciscan to New Yorker. Thank God that's a good deal we closed there, guys. I mean, talk about a completely, just an amazing, smart person there. Glad Razzle Dazzle is now in New York. South Beach Traders here says, hey Tom, welcome. Lou Plays It says hello from Paris. Welcome everybody from France. Trax 101 says, hey Tom, good to see you. Welcome. NBA Elias is here. Kevin Grant says, lots of people in the United Kingdom think if inflation goes down, things will be cheaper, instead of not realizing it means they won't go up quite as much. A shorter than usual live stream. I was traveling all over the city today. So for those of you who are just joining, obviously the big headline of the day was inflation. And if you joined us for last night's live stream, we were making a few predictions. This is the kitchen to Jean George's. You could actually see the chefs and the pastry chefs preparing all the food. This is such a cool shot here. It's almost like being in America's Test Kitchen. Anybody remember that? America's Test Kitchen? This is like Michelin star chefs right here, guys. So this is pretty impressive. This is right in the Trump International Hotel and Tower. So we made a couple of predictions on last night's live stream, and very seldom do our predictions come true. But we were actually spot on as it relates to the inflation report. Now, the number one thing that we predicted was that CPI was going to inch up a little bit, and the vast majority of that increase was going to account for energy. Why? Because we've been following commodities prices pretty much every single night on the stream, and crude oil has been catching a very nice bid, sitting just below $90 a barrel. Okay, so that's exactly what happened. CPI did increase, and the majority of that increase was due to energy prices. The second prediction we made, which was actually a contrarian prediction, was that shelter costs were going to decline. And shelter did decline. So we're having this trend now, and we're starting to see it all come together of really everything that we've been talking about, right? And how liquidity plays a really big role in these business cycles, and which particular asset classes tend to lag in terms of the repricing, and which particular asset classes tend to lead as it relates to the repricing. So not to sound like a broken record, but it's very important for review. The moment the Federal Reserve starts to increase interest rates in the equity market, right, which is just the stock market, it's very easy for those particular assets to reprice because there's a lot of liquidity there. That's why there's the old saying in the stock market, stocks take the stairs up and the elevator down. And that's exactly what we saw in 2021, right? All of these very high beta growth stocks, particularly the SaaS, software as a service stocks, they were getting creamed, they were getting crushed. Because as interest rates go up, one of the main ways that equity research analysts and portfolio managers evaluate companies is to determine the value of their cash flows, right? Of companies' cash flows. So as interest rates start to go up, and they haven't gone up in over a decade, so as interest rates go up, the present value of the company's future cash flows go down. So there has to be a repricing, a material repricing in the marketplace. And if anybody here works in the banking space, or maybe you work in the financial industry as an analyst, or maybe you're a portfolio manager, I'm sure you've heard of a DCF model, or a discounted cash flow model. And that's essentially how professionals evaluate companies, right? It's determining the present value of a company's future cash flows, and dependent upon the benchmark or the yield, right? That's going to adjust accordingly to the interest rate environment. Now, real estate is a whole different story because it's a lot less liquid, particularly residential real estate. It's much more of an emotional sale, and you really don't need to sell in a way because you can't live in your stocks, but you could live in your homes. So you're just starting to see real estate prices come down now, because if you had a house, let's say a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home in 2020, that was $450,000. If you put 20% down and you leveraged out 80% at 3% interest rate, well, guess what? Your payment will probably be around $2,000. It's a whole different ball game now, unfortunately. That same home, $450,000, if you put 20% down and leverage out the rest, well, the money is going to be much more expensive. It's going to be around 7.5%. So that means your monthly payment could be almost $4,000. So when you do just the simple, logic, most people choose to buy because the payment is cheaper than renting. Now that whole equation is topsy-turvy, and that's why you're going to see the market just start to reprice now. So, hey, Baker504, thank you for joining us. We are now walking up Broadway. This is West 63rd Street and Broadway, right outside of the Smith Restaurant, and we are just adjacent to New York City's Lincoln Center, which is a very, very iconic place. That's actually where we're going to be walking to tonight. It looks like they're building some really big stage over here. I'm not sure what this is for, but we'll check it out once the light turns green. Hey, Hawaii is here. What's up? Penelope. This is Hey Tom and Friends. Penelope, how is everything going in Tennessee? I feel like I haven't seen you here in a while. Maybe it's just the chat's been going too crazy, but Penelope, it's so nice to see you here. MBA Elias is the biggest component of core inflation is shelter inflation, which has legs to go lower for many more months. So the core inflation data isn't far from the Fed's, or far from the 2% target from the Fed. That's a very good point. That's a very, very good point. And that's why, MBA Elias, you're so right. And that's why, again, not to sound like a broken record, but I think this data is so important. And the thing is, all of this data really is free to the American public. which is what is so fantastic. You don't need to sign up and subscribe to all these services that are paid. You just have to have, the wherewithal to seek out this data yourself. It takes a little bit of work. Is it a little bit of a pain in the ass? Of course, sure. But it's all out there for free on government websites. So again, look at that 12-month rolling average of inflation, and you can actually look at it by category. So you could look at food, you could look at food at home, food away from home, new vehicles, used vehicles, shelter, commodities, everything, right? Fuel. And really the only thing that hasn't rolled over and collapsed is shelter. We're just starting to do that now, which I actually think is a good thing, right? In some specific markets, which we'll talk about, we just may not have some time to do it tonight. There was a really good article in the Wall Street Journal today, like really, really well written article. I wish I programmed it in the Nightbot. I just didn't have any time. But it was so well written, and it was that over this past cycle, starting from the big C, right, COVID, so 2020, it highlighted the markets across the United States that actually did a good job with building new supply, right? So new inventory. And they were talking about the state of Florida. They were talking about the state of Texas. I wonder what they're doing over here, guys. Sorry, my attention span is next to nothing right now. But I'm curious as to what they're building. Looks like a big stage for something. This actually looks pretty cool. Or maybe this is some sort of like a tennis court, something? Anyway, I don't even know what I was saying. Hey Connie, what's up? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Somebody says maybe for a film. Oh, this is a basketball court. Whoa, look at this. Hey, Ukrainian Royal, thank you so much for your $5 donations. Says, hey Tom, I saw you had Instagram earlier tonight and I followed you. I don't know, your voice matches what you look like. And oh, thank you, Ukrainian Royal. You're very, very kind. Thank you, sir. And I appreciate your very generous $5 donation. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. So it looks like they're building a basketball court at Lincoln. Only things like this happen in New York City. We're like, you know what, guys? We're going to start the stream going to Lincoln Center, where they have famous operas and musicals and jazz music. And when we get here, there's a basketball court being put up. Only in New York City do you have this stuff, guys. Look at this. Maybe it's going to be like some art display. Oh, NBA Live says you were talking about shelter costs. Yeah, so look, it's lagged. It's a lagged effect. So the Wall Street Journal article, I remember now, it was specifically saying the states in the United States that have done a good job with building new supply. And the supply actually is about to hit the market, particularly in places like South Florida, Austin, Texas, Houston. They were talking about San Diego, California. So those specific markets, they've actually been doing a good job of building a lot of inventory that is just set to hit the market because construction is almost completed, just at a time when the market is softening materially. So what they were concluding there is that it is very possible. Let's see. Hey, sir, do you know what they're building here? No? Okay. So essentially what they were concluding there is that it's almost going to be like an opportune time over the next 12 months for potential renters and potential buyers. Because just as interest rates are hitting, 20, 30-year highs, you're going to have more supply coming onto the market, and just basic 101 supply and demand from your Econ 101 class. The more supply on the market, and the higher the rates or the interest rates, that should put a cap on prices. So that's good news, right? We don't want the real estate market to be white hot and go gangbusters month over month, year over year over year, and price people out. In order for an economy to grow sustainably, you kind of need that random walk. You need the market to pull back a little bit. You need people to be able to afford things, right? So having, and this isn't guaranteed, this is just my personal opinion, is what I think. Having the market now pull back a little bit and valuations come down, I think this is a good thing. I mean, God forbid we could have Americans afford a place to live. So things are working out. This is what the business cycle is supposed to be. Oh, Michael says WNBA playoffs start soon, so it could be related to that. How amazing would that be if they had a WNBA game out here live at Lincoln Center? I would go to that 100%. All right, we'll do one quick lap around Lincoln Center and then we will head back down. Mark says, no, it's 3-on-3 basketball. G-Fresh is here. What's up, G-Fresh? Theos, take your vitamins and stay hydrated. You are working 16-hour days, signed your Greek mom. I know. We've been pounding the vitamins. We've been drinking a lot of water. I think the stream doesn't really feel like work, though. It's kind of my downtime, if you will, but I appreciate it. Oh, Theo, by the way, your contact reached out to me at the Met for the, what's it called? The Egyptian exhibit. Oh my God, that is such a good idea. And yes, fantastic. So we're connecting on that. I appreciate the connection there. That is so cool. I didn't know you had to connect at the Met. Anyway. Yeah, Matthew M says, so did Airbnb get banned in New York? No, I mean, that's been a rumor going around. I know a lot of people have been, putting that out in video titles. But no, it's not banned. There's just very, very strict rules on it. One of the questions I think I got that I didn't get to answer because the stream crashed the other night, somebody put in the chat, with these new Airbnb laws, rules, and regulations, do you think that's going to materially impact the Manhattan real estate market? And the answer is absolutely 100% no. If this was in other market, like in Atlanta or Miami or something like that, then yeah, you could potentially have this impact as it relates to having more supply come on the market, because if nobody's allowed to use Airbnb, well then they can't afford to pay for the apartments. The Manhattan real estate market is one of the most unique markets in the entire country. The average sale price here is so high that very, very seldom, I mean almost never, is somebody relying on an Airbnb income to keep their properties afloat on the island of Manhattan, right? It's just not a thing. Even studio apartments here, if you want to get a studio apartment on the island of Manhattan in a halfway decent neighborhood, you're looking at $450 and up, and that's for just over 500 square feet. So it's a different type of buyer here generally. Nobody buys a 2-bedroom apartment in Manhattan for $2.5 to $3 million and says, you know what, I'm gonna just solely Airbnb out this property to make money. Number one, in most cases, depending on your building, particularly if it's a co-op, it just wouldn't be allowed. And number two, think about the income verification and the requirements to buy a $2.5 million property. Chances are, if you are able to put 20% or even 50% down on a $2.5 million property in Manhattan, you're probably not going to be reliant and scraping by for the $3,000 rental income per month. Now, maybe in some of the outer boroughs where the property was inherited and passed down to generations, but I don't think you're going to have this huge glut of supply come on the market due to this Airbnb regulation, because people are like, whoa, now I can't make my mortgage payment. Not going to happen. If maybe in a place like Miami where there's more speculation, or maybe in a place like Atlanta, Georgia, but on the island of Manhattan, no shot. And that's just my opinion, but I don't know. Any thoughts on that? Co-ops are very unique to New York City and Manhattan, and many co-ops here already don't even allow short-term rentals. So Kevin Grant says, who has more power, the richest people on the planet, or president and prime minister? I don't know. I would say corporations, maybe. Probably corporations. Elliott Wave Review. What's up? Says, hey Tom, do you think gold and Bitcoin will recover soon, or are they going into the abyss? Well, I mean, inflation is going down, right? And the main value proposition for gold is an inflation hedge. And when inflation in the United States was 9.1% about a year ago, right, or a little over a year ago now, people were really freaked out. So there was a frenzy of people buying gold. But inflation has gone from 9.1% now down to today, we just got the most recent inflation number out, to 3.7%. So unless you really have this tail blow off in gold, I really don't think you'll see $2,000 an ounce unless inflation really gets cooking here. But gold, I mean, gold is really just supposed to be like a store of value, right? I would say very seldom if you went up to somebody and asked them, hey, why do you own gold? Very seldom do they probably say, oh, because I'm speculating, I think the price is going to go to $7,000 an ounce. No, it's just an allocation because historically gold has kept up with inflation and it's acted as a store of value. If you really want to grow, your wealth, you would invest in companies who continuously compound out their earnings, right? We always talk about like the S&P 500, companies within that indice, on average, compound out their earnings at 8%. So that means the market ought to double every 10 years, right? Assuming that trajectory continues. With Bitcoin, I think the value proposition for me is that it's an unconfiscatable store of value. It's impossible for anybody to confiscate it from you unless they know your private keys, right? Somebody could go in your safe at home and take all your gold. I even saw, speaking of that, did anybody see this news article? Did anybody see this news article that the FBI has access to your firearms safes? So if, and I don't own any firearms or anything, but I saw this in the news. I guess somebody who was at the J6, the January 6th thing, hopefully we don't get the stream shadow banned, they had a warrant out for their arrest, and the FBI just calls up the company, and they're like, hey, we have a warrant for this guy's arrest, give me the codes to his safe. Boom, 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 they get it and they open it. I mean, that's a little bit concerning that a private company can do that. With Bitcoin, it's impossible for somebody to confiscate unless they know your private keys. So that is what is attractive to me as it relates to Bitcoin. Also, it's permissionless. So I don't have to go to a broker dealer to send the money. I don't have to go to JP Morgan Chase to send money around the world. It's permissionless. The system runs 24/7, 365 without anybody's say-so or permission. And I think that for me, it deserves an allocation. Now, am I saying I'm buying Bitcoin because I think it's going to go to $2 million like Cathie Wood says? No, that's not the reason. For me, it's I feel a safety in the crazy, chaotic world we have today, that if I can allocate, let's say 3% of my net worth to something that is totally within my control, I feel like that deserves the allocation. That's why I don't understand why, many people in the cryptocurrency community, if you will, are so excited about BlackRock and Blackstone and Fidelity getting involved into the, Bitcoin custody space. I think those are just speculators, because the only value proposition that I see that Bitcoin brings is unconfiscatable wealth. So why would I go to BlackRock or why would I go to Fidelity and buy a Bitcoin ETF that essentially violates the one value proposition that the thing provides. Just doesn't make any sense. And on top of that, I need to pay them management fees. It's ridiculous. Guys, look, there's an old saying on Wall Street that if consumers want it, Wall Street will make a product for it and they will sell it to you, okay? So just take that with what you will. So anyway, all right, so we are now coming down from Lincoln Center. This is on Broadway and West 61st Street. You are looking directly into Columbus Circle. On the corner here is One Central Park West. This is the Trump International Hotel and Tower. But to the left of us is a very important building, and this is 15 Central Park West. Now, I've recommended this book before, but we do have a lot of new viewers here, so I think it's appropriate that I recommend it again. For anybody who's interested in the history of New York City real estate development, particularly Billionaires Row, such as this guy we have in front of us, 432 Park Avenue, I'm going to recommend an interesting book. It's called Billionaires Row by Catherine Clark. Now, Catherine Clark is one of the most well-renowned and famous real estate reporters for the Wall Street Journal. She's really good. She does a really good job. And she essentially compiled the history of all of the major developers. So think CIM, Extel, Vornado, who have essentially built out Billionaires Row in New York City, and is detailed line item by line item exactly how they did it. So if you're interested in the real estate development business in New York, if you want to know a little bit more about assemblage, how the hell did these people even get the permission to build these buildings this high? What are air rights? Read the book. I also think it's on Audible as well. I think some of you, I think maybe Teresa Diaz, TD in the chat, said it's an audiobook, so check it out. But there's an interesting chapter within that book that talks about this building right here that's nicknamed the Limestone Building. And in 2008, during the depths of the financial crisis, this building was complete. And it actually sold out rather quickly at record prices. And with the building of this building, it sort of paved the way to have other developers on 57th Street sort of stick their necks out and provide these ultra luxurious condominiums for mainly to market to foreign investors and ultra wealthy high net worth individuals. Because way back in the day, I'm not sure if you guys knew this, right next to One Central Park West, which is the Trump International Hotel and Tower, sits the Deutsche Bank Towers. But it didn't always used to be the Deutsche Bank Towers. Before that, it was the AOL Time Warner Center. And before that, it was a convention hall. If you think all the way down on 34th Street and 10th Avenue, it sits the Jacob Javits Center. It's like a big convention hall. They do, what do they have there, guys? Like the auto show. I think every year they have the auto show there. They have, what else? Comic-Con, I believe they host at the Javits Center. Now, when the Javits Center was built and completed, unfortunately, right where you see here on the corner, where the now Deutsche Bank Center is, this was the old Manhattan Convention Center. And once the new one came at the Javits Center, this was all dilapidated, it was abandoned, and it was really fell into disrepair. Right in front of it, it turned into a bus stop where it would take visitors to see their relatives in prison. It was a homeless encampment, there was drugs, there was sex trafficking. It was horrible right here. Now, what you see today, you're probably thinking to yourself, I can't even believe that was like that back in the day. It's like you can't even wrap your head around it because this is some of the most prestigious and expensive real estate in the world now. But at that time it was. Until related properties came along. Now, I'm sure if you are from Miami, Florida, particularly Brickell, you've probably heard of Related, or the Related Group. They bought the land, they demolished the old disgusting convention center, and they built what you see here is the Deutsche Bank Towers, formerly known as the Time Warner Center. And everybody thought this idea wasn't going to work. They said, whoa, after September 11th, 2001, nobody is going to feel comfortable buying a condominium or going to work in an office tower that has essentially kind of resembles the Twin Towers. That was a really big risk for them. So the Deutsche Bank Towers is a mixed-use building. It has commercial space, it has office space, retail, restaurants, and it also has residences and hospitality. Turns out the thing was a freaking massive success. They sold out all of the luxury condominiums. They moved in the Mandarin Oriental Hotel onto the right side, and this really paved the way for that building, 15 Central Park West. And once that one worked, it was just a free-for-all, pretty much everything up in the air to build as high, as tall, as skinny, and as expensive as possible. And that's pretty much the long and the short of Billionaires Row, condensed into maybe like a 10-minute diatribe. So, but if you want to know the full in-depth story, check out that book, Billionaires Row by Catherine Clark. But that's a little bit of Columbus Circle history for you. All right, let me catch up on some of the chats. If you are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We usually start these streams at 8:30, but obviously today was a little bit of a hectic day, so I do apologize for that. Joseph Hardaway is here. Hey, Joseph. John says, when exactly did Billionaires Row? That was right after 157 was built. So as we walk a little bit further, as we get away from some of these lights here, I'll show you the exact building that sort of had the name coined Billionaires Row. But we just got to get out of the light so you can have a clear shot of it. We'll walk down Central Park South so you can have a better shot, but if you Google 157, it was actually the first building that was ever built on New York City's Billionaires Row. And the developer was Gary Burnett, who was the CEO and founder of Extel. And a few years later, 157 was such a raging success that he built another building, which just so happens to be the tallest building now on New York City's Billionaires Row, called Central Park Tower. Now, the triplex that sits atop Central Park Tower is on the market with Serhant. Serhant is owned by Ryan Serhant, and he is one of the most successful real estate brokers in New York, really in the world, actually. Really successful guy, built an amazing business, and he's in charge. He got a tap on the shoulder to sell the triplex atop of Central Park Tower for $250 million. $250 million. Kind of crazy. I don't know if he'll get it done. It'll probably, well, yeah, we'll just say that. I think it'll sell, but not for $250 million. Richard Vogel, what's up? Crystal Ward says, hey Tom, good evening. Good evening, Crystal. Thanks for joining us on this very late night stroll on CPI Day. We are walking down Central Park South towards the east side of Manhattan. We are fast approaching the one and only New York Athletic Club, which is the building right to your left. Hey, JC has just joined in, everybody. Ooh, JC. We actually had an interesting conversation for about 15 or 20 minutes about Bitcoin and gold and other precious metals. Good to see you. Okay, now that we are out of the street lights here, you're going to be able to have a really nice view of the building that started it all. This is 157 right here. So somebody asked, what was the first original building that got 57th Street coined Billionaires Row? Well, now you're looking at it. This is the first building ever constructed on Billionaires Row. It was completed in 2014. And very famously, the crane that sat atop of Central Park Tower actually cracked in half during Hurricane Sandy. Not sure if anybody remembers that. It was wild. Hey, Miller Rob says, Tom, really enjoy these walks. Thank you so much. Natasha Pieces, they put these ridiculous prices on the listings to get a headline, to get attention, and then they go for a price reduction. In some cases, sometimes, yeah, you're right. Hey, Tom from Midtown says 15 Central Park West was previously the Mayflower Motel, and the last holdout who lived there got paid $17 million to finally move out so construction could begin. You're right. And you know who else got a big buyout too? Right at 220 Central Park South. Tom from Midtown, good to see you, by the way, man. Happy CPI Wednesday. But Tom from Midtown makes a really good point. There was some wild stories, guys, of this building right here, 220 Central Park South. There used to be another condominium building right here where people had like ridiculously cheap rents due to rent controls and things like that. And there were multi-million dollar buyouts there too. You know, that's another thing. It's not easy to build all of these buildings in Manhattan specifically. You know, the process of assemblage could take years and years and years and could be very, very expensive. That's why a lot of times real estate developers will be very, very quiet and do the process of assemblage in silence. Because think about this, right? Let's say if you're a big real estate developer like Gary Burnett, and you've identified a plot of land on 58th Street. We'll just use 58th Street as an example since we're pretty close. You've acquired the lot, but you know in order to make the building that you want, let's say if it's ultra luxury apartments, you need a little bit more space. So you go to the owner of the building next to you for a buyout. Now you can't go to the owner of the building and say, oh my gosh, I'm gonna build this crazy tower and I'm gonna make millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, because then the seller of that property is gonna be like, whoa, this guy, has a lot to lose here. He really needs my building, so he's probably gonna negotiate hard and shake you down for everything you have. So the process of assemblage usually happens over long periods of time, and it's very important that you kind of keep your cards close to your chest. It's kind of like playing poker, because if somebody knows that, oh my gosh, this big real estate developer, if he acquires this building, he's going to build one of the most iconic towers in all of the entire New York City and in the world, and he's going to make a fortune. I want my cut, right? I'm not selling my apartment for $1 million. I want 15 million. I want 20 million. And so these astronomical numbers. So it's important in the real estate business, particularly in Manhattan, you kind of keep your cards close to your chest a little bit, at least all but temporarily. This is Central Park Tower, and the one with the gold top is 220 Central Park South. And here we are, the beautiful New York Athletic Club, right here, 1927. Hey, Robert is joining us. What's up? Augustin says, it's my dream to live there. Greetings from Argentina. Well, hopefully you can make those dreams a reality, my friend. And maybe you'll even come to Miami. Tons of people from Argentina living in Miami. 72nd Street and Collins Avenue is called Little Buenos Aires. So hopefully you can make your way over there. Hey Vinny, what's up? It says, hey Tom, are you doing any open house? So I did one today. I was at 74 Grand Street. A few people came by. Now the only person who came by, and now it's for rent, but an individual is interested in buying it, so maybe I have to do some work there with the sponsor, the developer, because the developer doesn't want to sell, but hopefully we'll push him and maybe we'll get the listing to sell it. I don't know, that's a whole work in progress. My brain is kind of fried from that today. Anyway, so, but I will keep all of you updated on all of my open houses. Sundays, every Sunday, probably from 12 to 2, I'll be in Red Hook, Brooklyn at the Conover. We did a little bit of an impromptu live stream today from the Conover. I showed you guys Penthouse 3A and 3B. Hopefully you enjoyed that, by the way. I thought that was fun to do a live stream walking through the property. We got a lot of interactive feedback, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. Maybe we'll do more of those because that was fun. I had a good time. All right, this is Alwyn Court, which is one of my favorite buildings in all of New York City. It's on the corner of West 58th Street and 7th Avenue, and it has some of the best architecture, I believe, in the entire city. Look at that. You see the old New York City, and then in the background you have 157 and the Steinway building, which is the new New York City. All of these glass encapsulated and encased buildings, which is cool. Hey, Bruno says, which is the best building to live in New York City in your opinion? Those Billionaires Row buildings feel like there's no one really lives in there. Yes and no. I know people who have Central Park Tower as their primary residence, but you're right. In some of the buildings on Billionaires Row, like 432 Park Avenue, Steinway Tower and the like, there are some apartments, I should say condos, that were purchased for, I'll give you an example. The record sale at 432 Park, which we're going to see here in a moment, we're actually going to walk that way. I think it was just under $100 million. I think it was like 84, maybe like 90 million bucks. I forget what the exact sales price was, so I do apologize. But the owner has never been there once. So they closed on the property, bought it for, I think, just under 90 million, and they've never even set foot in it. They've never been like within a 12-block radius from it. So it's called like a piggy bank in the sky. If you are, a big billionaire from a country that has an unstable government, well, maybe you want to diversify your assets so you can purchase, 50, 20, $30 million apartment on New York City's Billionaires Row. You may not necessarily make money on the deal, but your investment is going to be safe. It's 50 stories in the sky. Nobody's going to go and damage anything, and it'll hold its value. And then over the next, let's say 4, 5, 6, 10 years, once you need that liquidity, you just sell it to another billionaire as a collector's piece, and you get your capital and you get your liquidity. So you're right. A lot of these buildings, and here it is, by the way, right here, 432 Park. Some of them are called piggy banks in the sky, but there are people who do live in these buildings as primary residents. Now, if you're looking for kind of the amenities that you would see on Billionaires Row, the feel and the ultra luxury of Billionaires Row, but at the same time, you kind of want to see your neighbors, you want to see, families with kids running around, then I would sort of go a tier under that, which would be maybe like a 130 William, right? Which is an ultra luxury condominium in Lower Manhattan. It has all those amenities. It has the saltwater swimming pool. It has the doggy daycare in there. It has the gyms. It has the spa. It has everything you can imagine, but most of those units are used as a primary residence as opposed, to a lot of the stuff on New York City's Billionaires Row. It's a good question. Also, if you want to buy like a townhouse on the Upper East Side, that probably feels a lot more homey to you. Speaking of Billionaires Row, this is 157. This artist is actually very talented. I always give him a shout out whenever I'm here. So this is his Instagram handle. Extremely talented artist. And he does all of the art for the Park Hyatt Hotel here on Billionaires Row. This is some of his work here. So if you've ever stayed at the Park Hyatt at 157 and you've eaten at the living room, which is the lounge, you'll notice the majority of the art or the art pieces in the hotel are his. And this is his personal gallery right next to the main entrance. That's pretty cool to be able to have your own personal art gallery right on Billionaires Row. Really talented guy. I mean, he deserves everything and more, but I just think it's so cool. Hey, Lenisa, this is Tom. I like your outfit today. Thank you. I haven't been suiting up. Usually I do the full suit, but I just can't do it. I mean, it's just so humid, it's so hot. Oh, guys. It's the new Mustang Mach-E. I love these things. We saw this last night. So the NYPD, I'm not sure exactly how many the city purchased, but these are the brand new Ford Mustang Mach-E all-electric vehicle. How cool is that? That thing is sick. And it's so quiet, man. This is the main entrance to the Park Hyatt New York. So in 157, you have the 5-star hotel, the Park Hyatt right here. And then you have the Residences, which is the next door. Now, unfortunately, it's all encased in scaffolding. And I don't think they ever filled this retail space. It says there's about 4,900 square feet of retail space. But you can see Extel is the developer. What do you guys think would go good in here, actually? Because it's kind of a weird layout, right? I don't know, any suggestions? Hey, Joel PM is here, what's up? Troy Atmans is the cheapest place at 130 William is 1.4 million. The next cheapest is 3.1 million. And way more after that, a much higher price. Can't afford 130 William, what's your next suggestion? Well, I mean, you know, 1.3, I'm assuming that's a studio or a 1-bedroom. But that's actually not too bad for 130 William, having a swimming pool, you know, 24/7 concierge. If you're not looking for any of those amenities, we'll wait for the NYPD to go by. If you're not looking for any of those crazy amenities, I would check out Sutton Place on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Now, they're going to be co-ops. The majority of them will be co-ops, but you can actually get a better deal as it relates to price per square foot buying a co-op on the Upper East Side, because co-ops are really out of fashion now. Everybody wants all of the luxurious condos with the pools, with the gyms. So if you don't need that stuff, and if you don't really have any pets, you can actually get a pretty good deal on the Upper East Side in a co-op. But remember, it's going to be an older building, and you're not going to have any amenities. But in terms of on a price per square foot basis, it's going to be significantly lower than one of these ultra luxury condos in Tribeca or, you know, even in Lower Manhattan. Well, look, everybody's different. Some buyers don't want all those luxury amenities. They want it to feel like you're coming to, you know, home to grandma's house, right? But all buyers are different. All buyers are different. So this is Angelo's Pizza. I don't really think anything of this place. A lot of people rant and rave about it, but I don't know. I don't really like it. All right, let's catch up on some of the chats. Hey, Avin says, is the Seagram building close? Not really. That would be on Park Avenue. We are just approaching 7th or 6th Avenue, I apologize. So not too close, but I wonder what's going on. The NYPD seems to be pretty active here. Hey, NAV047 or 407, welcome. 1025A says, Tom, what pizza place would you recommend? If you want very good pizza in Manhattan and you don't want to wait in any line, go to the Upper West Side and go to Made in New York Pizza.
I believe it's on 80th Street. That place is absolutely fantastic. It's better than Joe's, and you're not going to wait in any line. There's no tourists, and it's in a really nice neighborhood too, right on the Upper West Side, right next to a lot of these brownstones. It's really nice. Hey, Deborah is here. I see my good friend Hawaii. Austin City Limits. Hang with Mark Mom. Says with condos you own shares. With co-ops you only own the home. I think it's the other way around. I think maybe there was a type. Yeah, so in a co-op you own shares in the, you technically don't own the property. You own shares in the development. That's how sort of co-ops are structured. But you're 100% right. Line Sync, what's up? Beautification. This is the only thing available at 130 William is for 3.6 million. That's just what's listed on StreetEasy. That's just what's listed on StreetEasy. There's definitely off-market properties that are available, in my view. I'll find out for you. I'll find out. I will email the main listing agent at 130 William. Hey, Colton Manning is joining us. Good to see you. Everything is going well with me. David says, Tom, where is the Dakota? It's a good question. The Dakota is on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. It's on 72nd Street and Central Park West. That is a gorgeous building. I guess you can call that like what, a neo-Gothic architectural style. I love the Dakota. Hey, Michael Joseph, thank you for joining us tonight on CPI Wednesday. Appreciate it very much. Hey, Troy Atman says the amenities look incredible at 130 Williams. Spa, indoor basketball, and pool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to shoot another video there for you guys. I was very, very lucky to be able to preview 130 William about 2 months ago, and I was so ridiculously impressed. The place is unbelievable. It's unbelievable there. Oh, that's right. Michael Joseph says the traffic in the city is going to be crazy next week for the UN Assembly. I totally forgot about that. You're spot on. And you know what that means? All of the hotels are going to be jam-packed, particularly the Peninsula Hotel, the St. Regis, the New York Palace, the Park Hyatt that we just walked past, and what's the other one? Right on Central Park South. We just passed it, actually. It was Central Park South and 6th. The Ritz-Carlton residences. Those are going to be slam-packed. That'll be cool to kind of be, maybe we'll have to stream over there. This is a really nice, what is this, Ferrari. Looks nice. Very gutsy to be able to park it on a New York City street. Hey, Scott, it's Tom. I always see closed newsstands. Do they still sell newspapers? Yes. So all of those are open, actually. The one that we just passed, I walk past it every day and it's open. They mainly sell like candies and drinks and things like that, and lotto tickets. But they close. We just stream way too late at night, so they close at night, unfortunately. So, hey, A-Name, thank you so much for your $5 donations. Just hope you're good, Tom. Thanks for the walks. Thank you. And I'm not sure if you saw, but we did pass by that creepy building on Thomas Street a few streams ago for you. So hopefully you were in the chat to see that. But thank you for your donation. Hang with Mark Mom, so cool. All right, so we are now standing right outside the Bergdorf Goodman, established in 1901. As we turn the camera across the street, we are standing right outside of one of the most expensive hotels in all of New York City. This is the Aman, New York. I believe Aman is a Japanese sort of destination site hotel. So all of the major cities like London, New York, all over the world in the major cities, they have an Aman. And I think room rates start right around $1,200 a night at the Aman, New York. There's always some really nice cars outside. And they just finished the total gut renovation, so it's really beautiful there. It's crazy. Hey, JL, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. And this is the very famous Tiffany. I love the blue, sort of the very luminous blue lights radiating from the windows. Look at that. Imagine the view that you get from the top floor of the restaurant. That's incredible. $10.25 is his first time hearing about that hotel. Yeah, look it up. The spelling is A-M-A-N. It's right on the corner of New York City's 5th Avenue and West 57th Street. We'll head southbound on 5th Avenue. Hey, Meg Lowe, thank you so much for your $5 donation. Appreciate the support. Thank you very much. Yeah, it really is. Let's cross by the Trump Tower just so you can see this color scheme from a different angle. This is the main Louis Vuitton store, so this is the flagship, if you will. Ooh, the New York City bus is not liking this guy's G-Wagon here. If I was him, I would definitely move up a little bit more, dude. Just move up a little bit more. That's all you gotta do. I mean, you're in like a $250,000 car. You don't want to get slammed by a bus. And trust me, these MTA bus drivers do not care. So if you're driving around in a $250,000 vehicle, it's probably best just to move up a little bit. That's really all. I have, yeah. JC says, Tom, have you ever had a chat with Eric Trump? I actually have, yeah. He works out of this building, and my office is right next door at 575 Madison. So one day I was walking through. I've seen him twice, right around lunchtime. He has, lunch down there. He's a nice guy. Politics aside, I don't really care about the politics. He was nice to me, nice guy. NBA Alliance is tourist driver in New York. Yeah, definitely. Anyway. Wow, Hang with Mark Mom says, Tom, I haven't been at the Trump International Hotel and Tower in years. I miss it very much. You should get back, particularly around the holidays. Let me just get back from the curb. As you can see, look at how close the MTA buses get. It's really nice, particularly around Thanksgiving. I would definitely recommend to stay there, because at One Central Park West, you're going to get the direct float route, it's really nice. You can purchase units there. It's similar to the setup they have at the Sherry Netherland, which is right here. I feel like I just missed like 5 lights in a row. I think I'm just a little bit too tired tonight. I'm just like not paying attention. So we'll continue to walk down. Anyway. Hey, Western Mass Dave. What's up, Dave? We spent the first half of the stream talking about inflation. Now, if you remember from our conversation last night, we made 2 main predictions. Number 1 is that the CPI headline number was actually going to increase. which that happened. Number two, we predicted that the majority of the increase was going to happen from energy prices going up, particularly crude oil. And we also took a little bit of a contrarian view to say that shelter costs were going to come down, which that also happened. So we'll see. Tomorrow is going to be very important for all of our friends over in the Eurozone. Well, why is that? Well, we're going to hear from Christine Lagarde at the ECB, the European Central Bank, and they are going to set the precedent for their monetary policy adjustment. We'll see. Consensus and traders on Wall Street are pricing in almost a near certainty for a 25 basis point rate hike. But guys, the battery's running pretty low and we got started pretty late tonight. So if you enjoyed the live stream, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new, because we will see you back here tomorrow at 8:30. But I do have to sign off for now. So thank you for coming out. I'll quickly show you the main Trump Tower here. It's open to the public from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. We did a little bit of a tour 3 or 4 days ago now. But thank you for coming out. I really appreciate that. Even though I've been tardy the last couple days, you guys have still been right on time. And the stream continues to grow, which is fantastic. So I appreciate each and every one of you. I really mean that. And I'll see you tomorrow, okay? How about that? We'll regroup tomorrow. We'll talk about everything. We'll talk about the ECB. And maybe we'll do another property tour. So JC, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Jules, Mohammed Baker 504, Hawaii Stylish Bunny, Arsenal Fan 13, JL, Austin City Limits, NBA Elias. Always appreciate it. Sunshine After Rain, Jeff from the Southern Tier. There's always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we will see you right back here tomorrow on Walks in Wall Street. Take care, everybody, and have a great Thursday evening or Thursday morning tomorrow. All right, I got to get some sleep. See ya.